for joining us on Onwards and Upwards. Road crews have worked tirelessly since September to repair our damaged roads and sewers. With each new event, the workload increases once again. We took a trip to Kashmir to find out how our sewers are fixed and if the June earthquakes have had a significant impact.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going.
So can you tell me what kind of work have you been doing here today?
We're doing sewer renewals.
How do you fix a sewer?
How do you fix it? Well, it depends how bad it is really, but majority of the time it's just basically tear the old stuff out and replace it with PVC is a new thing to use rather than the old clay pipes.
This job here, because it's on a hill, would probably take 2 or 3 weeks because it's full of rock. Yeah, it's a major job.
And do you need a lot of people to do that?
3 or 4 men. Yeah.
3 or 4 men for 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's a bit of work.
How did the earthquakes in June affect things?
Quite a bit, substantially. I didn't experience it myself, I was away, but from the new liquefaction and some of the damage for the houses, so it was significant.
Have you had to go back and fix things that you've fixed before?
Definitely, especially down in the Parklands area. What the boys have been working on for the last 2.5 months, just about 80% of it got damaged again or more silt. So yeah.
That must be pretty frustrating.
It is, and it really did put a dent in morale, but I guess we're all in it together and boys are trying to get through that hump.
I know just after the last earthquake we had to go back into a lot of water a couple of times, so yeah, but the sewers hasn't been too bad.
There's a lot of work done after the September and February one, and then after the recent one, a lot of the repair works had to be gone back and tidied up again.
It's a bit frustrating.
Yeah.
So what have we got going on here? Is this what you've dug up today?
No, this is all like backfill. So once the hole's been dug, the pipe's in, and all the stuff gets thrown back into the hole to fill back up to the road level.
Yeah, yeah. And what about this huge trench here? How long did it take you to dig that?
Generally it takes sort of around an hour or so, depending on the ground really. This is all rock, so it's pretty hard to actually dig through.
Yeah. When you are fixing them, do you actually have to get in there underground?
Yeah, we've got to climb in. Some of them are 3 metres deep, 4 metres deep.
So what's this purple pipe over there?
It's a Telstra Clear ducting.
Yeah.
That'll have a cable running through it.
Yeah.
And basically we want to avoid hitting that to cause any damage to it.
If you go through that, does everyone around here lose their phone and internet?
Yeah. Yep. So that's why I really want to avoid it.
Ah. So what kind of measures have you taken to get things fixed quickly?
We just do things as quick as we can. Just get the jobs, get organised and get them done. Long hours, 7 days a week, and that's about the most we can do.
A couple of my crews, one of them stayed till about 8 o'clock that night cleaning up, just to make safe and clean people's driveways so they can get out. One of the younger crews stayed till about 11 o'clock that night, just on that Monday night, just to make sure the people around where they were working could get out and everyone is safe, and put some metal and some hose. So yes, and the boys are pretty keen. Most of them worked the first Saturday just to get everything up and safe and back to normal, I suppose, relatively.
Do you think it's important?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we're all in it together, so I mean the boys have been really good. They just don't really have to ask them to put in extra hours. They're just automatically willing.
Why are the earthquakes so damaging to the sewer lines?
I'm not really a scientist, but I just think because of the movement in the ground, and a lot of the older pipes are earthenware, which are quite brittle. So yeah, they seem to be the ones breaking.
So what actually happens to them? Does the whole thing just snap?
Well, yeah, they'll crush, snap, filling up with sand. We've seen them move about 300 mil.
You could say it's every 4-year-old's dream to have been sitting in the sand pit and pretending they're a digger driver. How did you get into it?
Well, I started off really just drain laying, just working on the ground, and then worked myself up into driving the machinery and that. Yeah, it's pretty good. I enjoy it.
So are there any trade secrets to dealing with Christchurch winters at that time of day with this sort of work?
I think a lot of pies and coffee.
Oh, we're pretty well used to it now. It's not too bad.
Perhaps good Kiwi blokes,
Yeah,
eh?
something like that.
So what's going to happen down there now?
Right, once the water's all pumped out and whatnot, the pipe will be put in, and then all checked for level and everything like that, get a nice smooth gradient, and then yeah, the whole just get filled back in again.
And so you're just going to join that section of pipe onto that section of pipe there?
Yep.
And that's it, pretty much?
Yep, that'll slide straight in there, like it's made to fit, really.
Yep. How has the public been? Have you had any nice, friendly locals?
Amazing. Everyone's been amazing. And probably the last 3.5 months, probably had 1 or 2 angry people. Everyone's been very amazing, especially in the Parklands area. It's very impressive how friendly and how happy everybody are, bringing up food, occasional beers on the Friday afternoon. So everyone's been very, very good.
After the break, we take a trip to the home of Tina Thomas, who's operating her design studio from home. Like many self-employed individuals in Christchurch at the moment, designer Tina Thomas is operating out of her spare lounge at her Mount Pleasant home. We paid her a visit.
My business is high-end fashion. That's where I started at the beginning of the year, and decided that I worked in costume for a long time, and decided that I wanted to bring some of those costume couture techniques into fashion, because we just don't have anything like that at the moment. Pre-earthquake, it was a little bit of, I worked for the opera down in town, and that was just a little bit of a part-time thing because I have 3 small children. So mother, opera, and costume was where I was heading.
So what did you do after the quakes?
We kind of had to regroup. My husband lost his business, which was at Bedford Row, and so he's moved. He didn't lose his business, he lost the premise, so he's downstairs. So we moved the kids upstairs, and Maddie's in with us, and the 2 kids, the 2 older children, are in a room together, and we regrouped and got the family nice and close, and moved me up here so that I'm not downstairs in the garage, where it's kind of a little bit scary down there. And yeah, we've just working more as a family unit, and then this goes around, that works around it.
Do you like that colour? Do you like having mummy at home with you?
Yeah.
Would you choose to work from home in the long term?
No. It's too difficult with small children running around. And I often find that I'll put my mother hat on and then put my designer hat on and back and forth, and it's really good having everybody here with me, and the children and the husband, and it's really good, but it's not great in a creative sense because you've got so many other things going on. I have one lovely girl that works for me at the moment, and it does work for me, but the plan is to employ more staff and get a bigger area to do that, because the lounge isn't really the ideal spot. It's really good having my husband at home, particularly when one of the kids needs to be at school or one of the other ones needs to be at preschool. We can split up and go and take one each, and to have him around a lot more has been really, really good. And when at the end of the day's finished, it doesn't take him 40 minutes to get home. He can just come upstairs and we're good to go. And that's been really, really nice.
How do you feel about your surroundings?
I love my surroundings. We have one of the best views in Christchurch, I think. And it's really nice to be up away from the frost. It's been really, really good, particularly for the kids as well. And it's fantastic sunsets up here as well. They're really, really good.
It is a little bit more of a different view though these days, isn't it?
It is. The city at night is just a large black hole, as is AMI Stadium. But it's still really lovely to see those lights twinkling out there, and particularly after the February earthquake you could see which pockets didn't have power. It's getting back to normal though. We do feel a little bit isolated up here still. We don't have supermarkets, petrol stations, any sort of really big retail outlets on this side of town at all. So it's a bit of a drive to get milk and bread, but yeah, it's good being able to have this community up here because it's a very, very strong community, which is really good, particularly for the kids as well. This is an ombre fabric, which is really, really lovely. So it progresses from one colour to another. And this was the last season's fabric, which I'd still really like to use for next winter, but with the time constraints that we've had, we'll see if we can use it again.
What I really want to know is, how do you know that this is going to work in 2012?
Well, you don't. Well, you just have faith. You can have colour forecasting, which will give you an idea of what's happening in Europe and in the Northern Hemisphere, because we're a season behind. So we just see what's trending over there at the moment, and then the fabrics will come through, and then you just basically, it's up to you as a designer to decide what you like and what appeals to you. Well, that's how I do it. It's what appeals to me and what I really like.
What are your hopes for the future of Christchurch?
Oh, I hope that it becomes a strong community. I feel at the moment that there's a lot of different opinions out there at the moment, and people are all in completely different situations. But I think it's going to make us a much stronger breed of Cantabrian. And I hope that it's a beautiful city to come and visit and live in, because it was, and it still is, but it'll take a wee while before we're back up and running to full capacity.
After the break, we find out about how guide dogs and their owners had been affected by the earthquakes. With closed roads and new layouts, the walking routes of many guide dogs and their owners have been changed dramatically. As a result, some guide dogs now need to be retrained. We went to find out more. Oh, well, hello. Thank you so much for having us.
Not a problem.
Who have you brought into work today?
Well, I actually haven't got a training dog at the moment, so I've brought my pet dogs in. Aww. This is Maloney. He's my son's dog, and we use him for a distraction sometimes with some of the working dogs. And this is wee Spencer. He's just a year old.
Oh. Well, it's good of them to have us here in the reception here for the Foundation of the Blind. How have things been here over the last 9 months?
Oh, they've been pretty changeable. A lot of people have been moving out of their houses, having to learn new environments. A lot of people have obviously gone back to their old environments and then had to move again with the February one, and obviously again in June. So people are, some people are reluctant to start learning in case they have to move again, and some people are trying to learn new routes to their new places of work or around their new homes. And some people have just carried on as normal, really.
So your role here is as a guide dog instructor. What is the job of an instructor? There's instructors in lots of different regions throughout New Zealand, and tends to be one instructor in each area, apart from Auckland, obviously, with a bigger population. And we look after all the guide dog users that are in that area, and we make sure that they are mobile, and that if they've got any problems with the dogs, whether it's health or anything like that, that we are there and available to talk to them. We also, most of us have a few puppies in the region, so I've got 3 at the moment who've just turned 1, which is very exciting. And we usually have a dog that we train, but obviously I haven't, so I brought these 2 instead. As an instructor, you're looking at training animals to go out and to be given to a dog handler. What's the credentials? What do you look at when you're training a dog?
We look at an awful lot of things. We look at the dog's temperament, the dog's capabilities, the dog's speed, and obviously the person's temperament and abilities and speed. We look at the person's environment where they're going to actually have their employment, as opposed to their family environment as well. And the dog has to fit into all of that. So if you've got a dog that's really, really dynamic and has really high initiative, you're not going to give it to somebody who's got a very low workload, or the dog's going to start to get bored. And like the bored child at the back of the classroom, it's going to get disruptive, I don't know, digging, chewing, deciding to go different ways, ignoring the handler and things like that. So there's about 33 to 35 different things that we look at temperament-wise before putting somebody with a guide dog.
So what's your dog's name?
This is Rosie.
Hey Rosie, nice to meet you.
One sit. Good kid.
So have the earthquakes had much of an impact on your daily routine?
Well, from a work point of view, I used to work in Oxford Terrace, so from the centre of the city, we're now working out here in Northwood, and obviously that means a completely different set of routes for me to walk, whether it be by footpath or on the bus. One of the downsides about working out here in Belfast is that there are no direct footpath paths into the shopping area where I work. So to get into my work environment with ACC there's no footpath access, so we had to be a little creative.
How has the earthquake impacted on guide dog handlers?
I guess it's different for each person, and again, it's like the rest of Canterbury. It depends exactly where you are and what damage there is and how accessible things are. Brighton, the guide dog users I've got in Brighton, it's been obviously very debilitating for them, because there's some people that find it very hard just to get out because the pavements are so disrupted, and also the liquefaction, because it gets into the dog's coats and paws and eyes and all the rest of it. So it has obviously been very hard on them.
They're trained to deal with different environments. So for me, one of the key aspects when they considered me for a guide dog was the dog that can manage in different environments. Where it becomes difficult for Rosie is where the environment changes from day to day. So going to a new workplace, that took a bit of time to get used to, but now that it's consistent and the way we go in there is consistent, she's fine. But the other day we were walking down a street and one of the manhole covers had been taken off because they were doing some work, and then 10 feet later there was a big raise in the footpath that hadn't been there the day before. So Rosie had to manage with a big hole in the footpath that wasn't there, and then a big, probably 6-inch rise in the footpath from a quake. So we're getting to these points and I'm having to work out what she's finding, and then she's having to work out how to get around them or how to manage them when, you know, there might be car park beside the road, and she has to work out, okay, I can't go straight around the car, I can't go the other way because there's a tree, so she just stops. So that's the big thing for Rosie. You know, she's having to do all of those things she's been trained to do, and that's you know, it's incredible. It's some of those things you never expect they might have to do, but she's having to do them on a daily basis.
Wow. And what about the cordons? Have you had to then retrain dogs to go down new routes?
Not retrain them in their work, because obviously their work is what it is, but we have had to retrain them in people how to get from A to B. Yeah.
How do you do that?
It depends on the person and obviously on the dog as well. But we have to go, I'll go and look from A to B, or maybe a member of the family's already done it, or the person knows their environment really, really well. And if it's somebody who doesn't know the environment, then I'll go and walk it. A gentleman moved from the city centre where he had his job to another area, and I had to go and walk round and try and find a safe way for him to get from his office to the bus stop. And not everywhere that the people are moving to is actually very friendly for people to be able to get safely from A to B either. So environmentally friendly. But yes, so I'll go and look at it, and then I'll walk with the person on my arm and explain it all to them, and then we'll do it with the dog, and we'll do it as many times as it takes for the person and the dog to feel comfortable doing it on their own.
And as you see,
like that one, I've been there before.
a lip in the concrete, you know, that's probably a good couple of inches back there.
Yeah.
And she slowed down enough to let me know it was coming.
Oh, what a clever girl.
Yeah, she is. She's very, very bright, and all the dogs do that. You know, their primary concern is making sure the person with them is safe.
So can dogs be emotionally affected by things like earthquakes?
I believe they can. I've been working with dogs for 30 odd years, and I think that they can be emotional, but some people don't believe that. They believe we're reflecting the human emotions onto them. However, if the person, the guide dog handler, is frightened or nervous, the dog's going to pick up on that. And if that person is the leader, if you like, of the little pack of two, then the dog's going to think that there is a reason to be frightened, and they're going to pick up on that fear.
How does a guide dog handler deal with that if they are relying on the dog and now the dog is frightened?
Yeah, the dog, in a state like that, the dog wouldn't be able to work. The client, the guide dog user themselves, obviously if they're frightened, they're probably not going to want to work either. And what we've been doing is we've been giving them some herbal relaxant, starting off with rescue remedy.
Do you mean the same rescue remedy that we use?
Absolutely, yeah. Christchurch ran out of that after the September quake. We had some flowing down from Auckland.
Has a guide dog actually forgotten a route that's been taught to them?
No, it's one of the dog's natural ability is usually finding their ways from A to B, and once they've done it once, they normally very good at it. You do get dogs that decide there might be something nicer down a different way, or rather go to the bakery than the vets, or but then I don't like going to the dentist either, so I'd rather go to the bakery too. So I mean, dogs are, however highly trained they are highly trained dogs, they're not robots, and so they do have the little idiosyncrasies. And there are dogs that maybe have experienced aftershocks in certain areas that are a bit tentative going back that way, or they're just feeling the pressure, and they might get to the stage where they walk, they just stop. And the guide dog user there's been a couple of guide dog users that have just had to let the dogs have a bit of time out and slowly build them up again, just because it just got all too much. And again, I think it's like the people. Everybody seems to reach their breaking point and then get themselves together after they've hit the brick wall and carry on. But I have to say, and I find it's also been incredibly bonding, in the sense that I noted in February I was getting texts asking how I was as well, and people were telling me how they were, so that I knew without phoning, and it's like one big massive family, and there's an amazing aside to it all. I suppose to any tragedy or any national disaster, there's just an amazing side to it, and it feels like not just the guide dogs but the RNZFB, the whole foundation, it just feels like a big extended family. Everybody just gets in there, and whether it's the members or the staff, and just looks after each other.
Thank you, Rudy. Finally.
That's it from us. Make sure you join us next week for our final episode of this series.